Hey, Bobby Manning here, no Dalzell alongside, and Kristaps Porzingis missed a 7th game with his illness tonight. Entered doubtful, unlike on Saturday night against the Lakers where we saw him warm up and go through his motions and seemed like he tried to play. Looked pretty clear from the start, and when we heard from Joe Mazzulla before this game, that he wasn't going to go in this one and that he's getting close, but he's not quite there yet. Then at halftime, we get an update from Porzingis saying he's dealing with an illness, a viral illness that they can't identify right now. And that's all we have. Teammates said after the game, Derek White, Sam Hauser, that he's been around, that he's been talking to them, and seems like he's getting better and getting close. Sam even said hopefully we'll see him Wednesday against the Thunder. So feels like he's either on the verge of coming back or this is something that they're trying to figure out and work through and could take some time here. And based on his update, I feel like it's the latter.
Yeah, his update was definitely not encouraging. I think the reality that he felt like he had to turn to social media and kind of clear this up. There have been a lot of jokes. There's been a lot of like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he soft? Why is he missing so many games for illness?
So you think that's why he did this?
I think that's part of it. He's online. I see him like liking tweets and stuff. Like, he's online, and I think that he sees the stuff. He sees all the discourse around him missing games, and he's probably really frustrated, and the team hasn't really said anything. They've just said he's sick. So he's probably thinking, well, it's a little bit more than just like the cold, so let me at least clarify that. But my initial instinct when I read that tweet, I was like, oh, that's scary. Like, they don't know what the viral illness is. And then when you think about it, like, how many times have you had something that, like, they didn't know what it was? You know, it's like, it's not like it usually tests positive for the flu or COVID or, like, 11 other things. Like, a lot of times, if it's not the flu and it's not COVID, like, it doesn't have a name that we know, right? So part of me was like, maybe it's just that and it's just taking him a while to get his wind under him, or it's something worse. And so it's just like this question of, like, is the fact that he's been out 2 weeks, I've heard a lot of people this winter say that they've just been sick for a while. Like, there's just something going around. Like, it could just be one of those. So I'm kind of 50-50 on whether it's serious or not. Either way, obviously he's frustrated and he wanted to kind of take control of the narrative and just kind of say what his end of the story has been.
Yeah, and I went through that in January. I think a lot of people have this year. It does seem to be an illness, even going through the NBA, that's striking more fiercely than normal illnesses would. And guys have missed significant time for stomach illnesses, as well as the flu, which seems to be especially nasty this year. The flu would seemingly be easy to figure out with a test.
He doesn't have the flu, yeah.
As with COVID. So it's neither of those. So that's where you start wondering, is it something more severe? Is it something that could cost him more time here? Or is this just an innocuous, offhand statement he's trying to make it clear that he's not just sitting out chilling, that there's something significant here that he's trying to deal with? I just wonder if there's some frustration on his end that it hasn't been able to be figured out, that there hasn't been more communication by the organization, that he might need to miss some time here. So that's what I'm wondering out of this. Again, we don't know much, so it's hard to glean any of this, and all Joe has said is that he's getting close. So I guess we'll take him at his word. But the fact that that's the update we got pregame, and then we got an update at halftime from Porzingis himself saying, we're trying to figure this out, we're trying to get to the bottom of this, says to me that there could be a little bit of a frustration on Porzingis' end that his message isn't getting out there. And I think that's why a coach should give a clear update on what's going on, in my mind.
Part of the challenge, though, is that there's not really a clear update. Like, I think if he got diagnosed with mono and everybody's sitting here being like, why is he sitting here with a common cold? And Porzingis is like, well, actually, I have mono. That would make sense. But it's not like Joe has just been like, he's sick. Like, he's sick. Like, he's trying every day to come out and sweat it. Like, Joe's update the other day where he was like, he's trying to sweat it out, made it clear that, like, they don't really have a handle on this thing. It's not like there was day 5 and then he started feeling better ever since. And the fact that he said himself that he was going to play a couple days ago, and then he wakes up that day in the Lakers game on Saturday and obviously doesn't play despite going through warm-ups.
That was weird too.
What I'm picturing there is a guy who thinks he's getting a lot better on Friday or on Thursday, and is sitting there being like, I'm ready to get back, and wakes up on Saturday and is like, why do I feel terrible? You know? And we've all felt that to a level, a certain degree. I don't know that I've ever been sick for 2 weeks the way that he has this year. And, he's probably really frustrated. Maybe he's a little worried. Like, there's the basketball at play, and then there's always, like, nobody likes feeling like there's an illness or there's something in their body that they don't really know. And especially that they can't give him an answer. They can't tell him, you need another week or you need 3 more days. Like, he really doesn't know what the extent of this is going to be. So I think my thinking has been bigger than basketball, bigger than, like, the season or the next couple of weeks, is just, like, hoping he's okay as a person, because obviously they're NBA athletes and they're some of the healthiest people out there and they take good care of themselves, but everybody's susceptible to everything, right?
And that's the only thing I've heard is that they're trying to turn through every stone right now, the doctors are, and figure this out. And that's obviously a frustrating process for I think everybody involved, that they can't figure it out. And I have no idea why they wouldn't be able to figure that out. But the fact that he's been here, the fact that he's warmed up at this point does make it a little less mysterious. But I can't quite remember a situation like this, at least in my time covering the team, where a guy's out, comes back for a game, misses the next 6 games, and is here and on the verge of playing, but tweeting about how it's a mysterious illness that they can't figure. It's a bizarre situation.
Part of it, it's so Kristaps Porzingis, and I don't mean that with any shade at all.
I was just gonna say
but
that.
Like, part of being the unicorn is having a leg injury last year that like nobody has suffered in the NBA, and having to have this rare surgery, and now you have this rare illness. Like, I don't want to speculate too much, but also being that size, like your immune system's a little bit different. Like, there's other variables at play, but he just seems to have a bad luck of the draw when it comes to these things.
I don't know what to
think about
It really does.
This.
Yeah, so I'm not going to speculate.
Hopefully
There's
he's back Wednesday
we can
or
think,
Friday.
Yeah, and it could go any number of ways. So I think that's just where we are at this point. So it's a significant story, significant update from Porzingis here. Discussed it on postgame. Go check out the postgame here. Celtics beat the Jazz after a furious Utah comeback, and they're going to meet the Thunder here on Wednesday for one of the biggest regular season games left, probably the biggest regular season game left for
the only
Celtics.
Big one, really.
So we'll see what Porzingis' status is tomorrow. There'll be another injury update, and I'm sure he'll be on it to some degree, and we'll see what the chances are that he's going to go against Oklahoma City, and a team that lost Jalen Williams to an injury tonight. We'll see what his update is as well and talk about that matchup, a great matchup going into it. So for Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. Kristaps Porzingis missed his 7th game with an illness tonight, but the Celtics still beat the Jazz, holding off a late comeback.
Shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Guys, download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's the code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.